welcome to CADS, and welcome back to our interview series, previously nameless, but not anymore. Say hello to Just the Tip. That's terrific, interesting people for those of you whose minds wander to the gutter. We're short on time tonight, so no deep dives. Instead, we're here to tease, to poke just below the surface, uncover a little juicy gossip and leave you begging for more. Ready? Excellent. Tonight, we're talking to NotSoSkinnyPete, who I'm just going to call Pete. Is that all right?
That's absolutely fine.
Excellent. So, Pete, our fan of football, film, and fiction. How you doing, Pete?
I'm really good, thank you. Really good.
Excellent. So, these chats we have them semi-regularly now. We're doing all right. We've done about six of them, I think, and basically, we're just here to talk about you. No pressure.
Okay.
And we just want to hear what it is that Pete likes and Pete enjoys about Tottenham and how we got there. So, Pete, go ahead. Tell us your Tottenham Hotspur story.
So, always used to like football when I was a kid growing up. I was born in Thornton Heath near Croydon. So, my local team was actually Crystal Palace. First game I ever went to was Palace v Ipswich in about 1979. Always used to really like football, but never really had a team. I sort of followed Liverpool because that's what you did in the 80s. And then I started working at Barclays Bank many, many years ago. Met a
Hmm.
mate. He was a massive Spurs fan. Asked me if I wanted to go to a game. I said, yeah, I'll give it a go. And got hooked. And the first game I ever went to was Eric Torsford's debut against Nottingham Forest. We lost 2-1. He let in an absolute howler of a goal. And that was it. I was hooked after that. 2 years later,
The
2 years
miserable
later,
defeat got
yeah, I
you.
know, but I was 18. It was the atmosphere and everything, standing on
Yeah.
the terraces behind the goal. I don't know what it was. It was just different to how because obviously I watched football because it wasn't on TV all the time then. So you watched like match of the
Yeah.
day or the big match. But actually being there, in amongst the crowd, pressed up because it was pre-Hillsborough, so I was pressed up against the fences at the right at the front of the terrace behind the goal. Yeah, so I think we got membership for the rest of that season, and for the following season after that, got a season ticket, and that was the year we won the FA Cup in '91. So I managed to get to every round of the FA Cup in '91.
Hmm.
Um, had my season ticket for most of the '90s, but my friend I went with emigrated to America through work, and I couldn't really afford to go after that. I stopped working at Barclays a long time ago. I was
Right.
basically working in a warehouse at that point. So money wasn't, money was a bit tight and the football was terrible. So I gave up my season ticket. And now I'm an armchair fan more than anything. I don't go very often. I go occasionally. I think actually the last game I went to was pre-COVID. It was the Norwich game when Eric Dyer went into the crowd. That was the last game I was actually at
Ooh.
to see Spurs. I do go and watch Bromley occasionally because they're my local sort of team and they're
Yeah.
cheaper. And
Considerably.
it's much easier to get to as well. I can drive
And
into the car
with
park
some of
there.
our football maybe slightly more entertaining. I don't
I don't know
know.
about that. I don't know
Yeah, I don't
about
know.
that.
Bromley.
It's
Difficult.
I mean, they've done brilliantly this season. Obviously, just come up first time ever into the league, mid-table
Yeah.
finish, absolutely fantastic. Very ambitious club. A lot of work going on behind the scenes to build the ground up, and yeah, it's going really well there. So I'm very pleased from. But yeah, Bromley, non-league to sort of league. What two is still quite agricultural, I would call it. It's a lot of long balls
It's
and
a big step.
yeah, it is.
Um, I used to live in Devon, so I went down, used to go and watch Torquay fairly regularly, when they were in what was whatever it used to be called, but is now League Two. Now
Yeah,
they're down in what is it, the
they're in the National South, aren't they?
National South, yeah,
Yeah,
and struggling the last few years. I mean, they got close
yeah,
this year, but
yeah.
yeah,
I was actually having a look at the table for that the other day because one of Bromley's players has just joined Torquay. So I was having a look at where they were and just missed out on promotion today. Goal difference this year,
yeah.
unfortunately.
But it was probably one of their better years considering recent times. But yeah,
Yeah,
but we're here to talk about Tottenham. So you got you hooked with Eric Torsvet.
yeah.
Um, so I'm going to let you in on a little something that nobody knows yet. But I actually interviewed Eric Torsvet last week.
Oh, excellent.
And there's an interview that's going up online tomorrow. But it's tomorrow in our current timeline. But for those of you watching, it was probably a few days ago. So just scroll back, just watch, go there. It's there. Yeah, and yeah, you'll be able to watch it on there. I'll let you see it, Pete.
Excellent.
So Pete, tell me what it is you enjoy about Tottenham now, or maybe not been enjoying so much.
Um, that's interesting. So I don't think my view about Ange Postecoglou is a popular one, judging by the people on Blue Sky. I'm not sure about the wider fan base, but I think he's getting a bit of an easy ride for our league form this season. Obviously, won the cup, fantastic,
Hmm.
brilliant. Wouldn't have changed that for anything. But the league form, pathetic, frankly, for the most part. Occasional good games. Aston Villa smashed them. Man City, obviously, brilliant. But since then, terrible mostly. Who we beaten? Southampton, Brentford, Southampton again, and Ipswich. I think
Ipswich, yeah.
since the new year, and it's not good enough. For a squad we've got, I appreciate he's got players that don't fit into his system, but for me, a good manager will adapt to the players around him. He won't keep playing the same system. Trying to play a high line with Ben Davies, for example, trying to play at the back with Dragusin who can't do it. And
Mm.
he's shown he's adaptable because we were playing full on Mourinho ball in the last stages of the Europa League, and it's effective. It won games, and yeah, I want to be entertained as much as anyone. But I don't want to see us losing 22 league games a season. Basically, we were getting to the point where I just knew we were going to lose the game. So what's the point of even bothering trying to follow it? Because you know you're going to lose. And I'm not talking about losing to Liverpool or Chelsea or Arsenal. I'm talking
Yeah.
about losing to the likes of Wolves and Fulham. Teams even with on our worst day, we should be competitive against, and we just weren't. So I've sort of been flip flopping around where I think he should stay or go. I'm
And
sort
where
of
have you landed
I'm
currently?
so so at the moment. I think I'm in it out. I think I don't have faith that he's going to turn around this because it's not just this season. Last season as well. After the first 10
Yeah.
games, absolutely brilliant. The first 10 games, fantastic, and then the Chelsea game happened, and we all loved that because it was like he's still sticking to his principles, the high line and that. But ever since that game, the league form's been terrible. I think I
Hmm.
worked it out. We've played 68 league games in that time and lost 36, and it's just not good enough, unfortunately. I know I love him as a person. I think he's an absolutely brilliant person. I love listening to him speak. I love what he done for us in Bilbao. But if he was to stay, I would like to see him try to have a bit of a somewhere in the middle of the two extremes that we seem to play. So we either play ultra attacking, leave ourselves really
Yeah.
exposed, or ultra defensive. And so I want to see somewhere in the middle. I'm quite happy to see the double pivot, as they call it. The two sixes playing in front of the back line to give them protection. And I
Yeah.
appreciate in Bilbao we didn't have Kulusevski and Madison. We didn't have or Bergval. We didn't have the attacking creative players. And I'd hope that will be addressed in the summer, should he stay. I'd love to see Eze, for example, come in. I think he's absolutely ideal for what we need, gives us depth in that position, which we really need. Until, hopefully Donnelly will come through and prove to be that he's, you know, good enough to play first team football for Spurs. But he probably needs another loan next year, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I agree. West Brom.
Uh, Possibly. Yeah, go right. They might take
Yeah.
Keeley as well. He get another. I was sad that Orient didn't come up because I thought they would go back there for another season in the Championship. Um,
Yeah.
that game was worse than our final, or worse watched than our final.
Well, I mean, Dorrington can always say that he is a goal scorer in a Scottish Cup final, though he
Well, there is
may not
that.
want to talk
Yeah.
about that too long
No.
because
But again, we've got these such promising group of players coming
we
through,
do.
and
Yeah.
it's all a bit early for them, especially the club, the club trained ones. They all need another loan. Mikey Moore, I think, is in desperate need of a year's loan somewhere. I think a loan like Devine had out in Westerlo would be absolutely fantastic for someone like Mikey Moore, where he's playing every week, but it's not the most intense league in the world. He's not one in a massive club, so he's not in a big spotlight. And just give him time to develop. Because I think
Yeah.
Devine could come back and surprise us, a lot of us, next season, because he's clearly got a lot of talent. Same with
Oh yeah.
Vuskovic. Vuskovic is an exciting player, but again, another one who might need a year in the Championship or a lower sort of Prem side. Maybe someone like Sunderland, if they'd be interested in giving him a year's loan. So he's sort of, I think for a team that's going to have to do a lot of defending, it's actually be quite good for a player like Vuskovic, because you're going to get to know the rough and tumble of the Premier League. From what I understand, he's a big, strong lad, so he should be able to cope with that. But just get himself integrated into the Premier League, I think would
I
be an
think
excellent
Premier
loan.
League might be just a little bit of a stretch too far for him at
Yeah, it
18
might
years old.
be. It
But
might
I
be.
mean, this is the reason I wanted to talk to you, because you and I don't exactly see eye to eye on a number of things.
Hmm.
But you said something a little while ago, and then I said something, and then we were clear we were not on the same wavelength, right?
Yeah,
But the way that you disagreed was very mature and straight, and I think I said to you, look, I'm not going to convince you of what I think, and I'm not going to try, and you're not going to convince me of what you think. So let's just move on. And we did, and
yeah,
we managed to have a really good conversation, despite the fact that we were on different ends of the spectrum. And I thought,
yeah,
yeah, this guy I want to talk to, which is why we're talking tonight. Yeah, that's what it was. So, I've had a lot of people on here who are big Ange fans, and I myself
yeah,
am a fan of Ange.
yeah.
And I think part of tonight is just about having balance, because every conversation needs balance. If it's just
Hmm.
one way, then it's just a diatribe, right? It's not a discussion.
Yeah.
So it's good to have you with us and having a dissenting point of opinion put very nicely and very politely. Let's have it that way. If I wanted fights, I'd go to Twitter or X. Sorry, let's
Exactly.
go. Yeah, but
Exactly.
I'm not there
That's
anymore because I don't want it.
That's what I like about Blue Sky, because I disagree. I'm happy to disagree with people because it's a
Yeah,
discussion, and I'm happy if people disagree with me. And you can have a civilized discussion with most of the people on there. And as
yeah,
soon as someone turns nasty, then I just hit the block button. I can't be bothered
absolutely.
with it these days, because say I had too much of that on Twitter. It's not a pleasant place to be. I've still got my Twitter account, but I'm rarely over there at all, mainly because it's quite good for things like Bromley news and Spurs news. It all gets posted up there first and foremost. So
Hmm.
that's the sort of places to go for. That's the place to go for information. But I don't really. And there's a couple of people on there I like, who I still talk to, who aren't on Blue Sky. So
You need
but
to bring them over, get them over, and have some fun with
I have tried. I have
it.
tried. I have tried. I have tried. A couple of them are like accounts I like, but sort of don't really interact with. I like their
Okay.
content, but I don't really interact with them. So I like to see what they're doing up to, stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very lucky that everyone I followed on X is pretty much now over on Blue
Yeah.
Sky. So people like Simon Humane and Prof, the guys
Yeah.
that I was like regularly following over on. There was a data MB site. I think they might be on Blue Sky now, but data MB on X was a site that didn't come straight over. I think they might have made the switch recently. Let's hope so. I don't know.
Yeah. I
So
just like, sorry, I'd just
go
like to
on.
say about Ange, if he
Yeah.
stays, I'm not going to be angry or upset. I'll be interested to see what he can do next season. It's not like when, I mean, I've been watching Spurs for so long, and I know when a manager definitely has to go.
Hmm.
Conte, we knew it to go. Mourinho, we knew his time was pretty much up. Even Poch, it was sad, but at the start of that season was so bad, you could see the players had stopped listening to what he had to tell them. And I think that was a case of he was burnt out after the Champions League final. And in hindsight, which is always 2020, he should have walked away after the Champions League final, because I think he was just burnt out and needed a break from everything. But I don't get that at all. I don't get that feeling at all with Postecoglou. Clearly, the players love playing for him, and I would
Hmm.
be interested to see if he stays. I'd be very interested to see what we can do next season. I just fear that if it doesn't work, he'll be gone October, November, and then we're either scrabbling around for some manager that hasn't got a job because they're not particularly good at the moment, or we go and get Thomas Frank, who would be my choice from Brentford. But then he's got no time to implement what he wants to do until the summer. So it's another sort of lost season in limbo. So I think if the club, Levy and the higher ups want to make a change, they've got to do it now. Otherwise, you go with Ange and you fully go behind him. And I'm not sure that's entirely what they want to do.
I think the fact that we've got to the 2nd of June and he's still in post says that he's going to stay in post.
Yeah.
If it was me, if I was advising him, I'd have said, look, Ange, the reality is you're not going to do any more with this Tottenham side than you've already done. You're not going to take them to win the title. You've just got them their first bit of silverware in 17 years, their first European Cup in 41 years. Now's a good time to walk away, mate. Your reputation is sky high. Everybody loves you.
Yeah.
But I'm personally glad he's staying. I think we could see a good season next year as long as some sensible signings are made, a bit more depth is added to the squad, and we concentrate a bit more on the league than we did on Europe. I can kind of see a reverse of last season where we
Yeah.
gave up on the league and put all of our eggs into one basket, which was the, Europa League. I think that basket this coming season should be the league.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Agreed.
as long as like relatively competitive in the Champions League,
Well, I think,
which I
I
think we
think,
can be depending on the draw.
I think if we get out of the group stage, then I think it'll be a successful Champions League
Yeah,
season.
me too.
I'm not expecting top eight. I'm certainly not expecting us to get close to winning it because
Hmm.
watching PSG the other night, they're on a different planet with the football they play to what we play at the moment. But I was quite surprised actually. I was listening to another podcast this morning. I think it's the Totally Football Show one, and they said that
Yeah,
PSG have got the highest wage bill in Europe,
they do.
and have spent 700 million on players in 2 years. We can't compete with that. So, I'm not expecting us to win the Champions League or anything like that, but be competitive in the group stages, get to the knockout rounds, and then if you come across a Real Madrid or a Barcelona
Mm.
or something in those things, and you go out and you hold yourself, play with good account of yourself, then I'd be perfectly happy with that. But the caveat is the league needs to improve. We need to be pushing up that top six next season. It's as simple as that. Whoever's the
Yeah.
manager, we got to be looking at top six.
So I live just outside Paris, and a
Okay.
few people I know actually are regular PSG goers. So
Yeah.
if I wanted to get a ticket, I could get a ticket to go and watch a PSG game. But I've always
Yeah.
felt I don't really want to support the whole sports washing stuff. It's the same reason
No.
I wouldn't want to go and watch a Newcastle game. It just feels a little bit dirty to me.
Yeah.
But when you watch a game like they played brilliant football. Like, it was a
Yeah.
superb match of football from one side and a fairly disappointing performance on the other. But if you come down to you have to watch a match in Paris, I'll be going to Paris FC. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I
They
mean,
just.
yeah, when you're spending wages on players like Marquinhos and Donnarumma who are on high, high wages,
Yeah.
um, yeah, you can see how they've spent a lot of money.
Or they can go and pick. I can't pronounce his surname, I'm afraid. But when they can go and pick out Double K, get him from Napoli, and his
Yeah,
signing sort of transformed them from they were struggling to get out of the group at one point in the Champions League, and then he just seems to have been the piece that's made everything come
yeah.
together for them. And they're such a young side as well. They're joyful to watch. It's a shame because I know we were heavily in for Doué last season,
We
and
were.
I think we were very close. And then Paris Saint Germain come in, and it's a no brainer, isn't it? Unfortunately.
So in the past, we've been in for Ousmane Dembele,
Yeah.
who previously was pictured wearing a Spurs shirt,
Oh, really?
even before he went to Dortmund. And then when he was at Rennes, we also went for Désiré Doué, uh, which was nice because I really liked the look of him and his numbers and his stats. I was like, yeah, this kid's great. But then we got Wilson Odobert, who actually isn't too far behind if you look at the numbers, but it's just like on numbers. There's
No, I
there's
really like
similarities
Odebear.
between the two, but
You can
wow.
see there's a player in Odebear. He needs
Yeah.
to obviously a season where he's not hamstrung by a hamstring injury. He
Yeah, many fewer hamstring injuries, please.
yeah. It's the and I really do really feel for Postecoglou in that sense because the injuries, no team would have coped with that. I looked at when people were saying, "Oh, we should have had more players, more centre backs." I looked at Liverpool's squad, and I thought, right, they got Van Dijk,
Van Dijk, yeah,
yeah, they got Kanate, and then they got Kwanzaa and Joe Gomez as their backup centre backs. Now, if they've got to play Kwanzaa and Gomez as their centre backs for 3 or 4 months of the season, they're not winning the league. It's as simple as that. They don't have
but
the
the game after
strength.
they thrashed us when they won the league, they then played their rotated side and lost.
Yeah, exactly.
So
But they played their rotated side and got beaten by Plymouth in the FA Cup.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
We've
since got relegated.
Yeah, exactly. So they got beaten by a not a very good side in the FA Cup when they played their rotated side. So I think people saying our squad isn't deep enough. There are definitely holes in the squad. A left back or right back, depending what you class Jed Spence as. I think we do need a left-sided centre back to come in to replace Ben Davies, who I presume is going, and if not, he really should be the last resort. You know, if he's a squad place, he should be the last cab off the rank to come. Much as I love Ben Davies, I think he's been a brilliant servant for the club, but he's just not quite at the level we should be striving for anymore. So I'd like someone like Joro. I don't know how easy it'd be, but Joro Hato at Ajax would be a perfect signing because he can play left centre back and left back. He's going to cost a few.
We were talking about this yesterday, weren't we?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
that's right.
He's going to cost a good few quid, and I'm sure there are other players out there who I've not heard of because I'm not over every player in Europe. But I'm sure there are other players who have got similar attributes to him who probably wouldn't cost as much. But as a player who's ticks all the boxes, plus he's 19, so he fits into the buy young strategy, but he's also got lots of experience. I think he's played nearly 100 games for Ajax, plus he's played European football, plays international football. So ticks all the boxes for me as the sort of signing that we should be going out and making as a club and get in there quick before, like we didn't do Doué last year. If we'd gone and got him as soon as the season finished, we would have probably got him. But we, by the time, I mean, possibly not, because if PSG were always wanted him, then they would always come in and got him.
PSG always wanted him. As soon as anybody stepped in, PSG stepped up. I think Borussia Dortmund came in for him, and that was the point where PSG went, no, you're okay. Step aside, son. We're in charge.
But I'd like to think that in an ideal world, with this backroom team we've got that do all the analytics and all the scouting, that they've got list of players ready to go that they have scouted that think, right, this is the player. If he's not Hato, it's someone who I've never heard of before, but they found him because they should be aware of every player everywhere, basically, certainly in the top leagues in Europe that have got the attributes that we need. Same with the attacking midfielder. Like I say, Eze be perfect signing for us, but again, might be a bit too expensive. But there must be other players out there who I don't know about that can come in and play a very similar role. Obviously, you've got the homegrown issues, and I know we're going to struggle next year with the club-trained player in Europe. We're not going to basically not going to be able to fill them next season unless we do something like bring back Kyle Walker-Peters, which wouldn't surprise me because he's on a free transfer and he ticks the boxes. But is he the sort of player we really want to come in? Is he good enough to come in and do a decent squad job for us?
He adds depth, but does he have the right kind of depth?
Well, that's it. I mean, he ticks boxes. He ticks the boxes for Europe because he's homegrown, but he's just been relegated. He's been relegated with Southampton twice. So, not saying that you shouldn't be signing relegated players because look what Liverpool did when they went out and got Robertson from Hull. Brilliant signing for them. He's been their top class left back for 10 years for them. So there are good players out there, but at 27, 28, Walker-Peters, no one's ever gone in for him seriously to try to pick him up. So I don't think he's really good enough, unfortunately, for where we should be looking to be.
I think he'll end up in the Premier League. I just don't know if it's going to be us.
No.
Part of me I'm the same as you. Part of me says we could get him in because he's effectively a free hit for both the Premier League. We got the spaces, and also for the Champions League
Yeah,
because we've only got two players that actually count as homegrown at club that we can register. So it's Brandon Austin and Dane Scarlett are the only two players.
yeah,
Everyone else is already under 21, so they count as under 21 players, or this be under 21 players. It's it's ridiculous we got ourselves in this situation, but this is what happens when you have years and years and years of very poor squad planning, and it's
yeah,
only the last year and a half that we seem to have taken this stuff seriously and started bringing in young players and getting them
yeah,
where they will qualify as homegrown at club in 3 years' time. So players like Berival, players like Gray, players like Vuskovic will count as homegrown players, but we're going to have to wait till 2027, 28 before that happens.
yeah,
So it
yeah,
makes things more interesting.
yeah. I suppose that's that's the result of chasing the Mourinho's and the Contes of this world because
Yeah,
they had
because
no
they didn't care
interest.
about squad planning.
No,
They
they
didn't
had
think
no
about
interest in
long-term future.
no interest in
Yeah,
developing the squad whatsoever. I mean, I was so I wasn't. I was upset when Pochettino left because I like Pochettino, but I thought it was
yeah,
the time to go. But it was never Marino was never the right man to come in
agreed.
and take that job. They needed to go for another squad building manager because, and I can see the attraction of Mourinho. He's a big name, and you've got Kane and Son in their prime. You're trying to make the most out of them, so I can see why it was done. But I do think it's a good thing. I don't. I know a lot of people really dislike Daniel Levy, and I think he's done lots of very good things for Spurs. But
Mm.
he has made big mistakes, and Mourinho and in hindsight, Conte were big mistakes. We weren't ever in a position to take those managers on because we couldn't give them what they want because they want top class players who cost tens of millions of pounds and on 300 grand a week, and that's just not us. So whether it will ever be us, I don't know, but it's certainly not us at the moment. So we have to
I think the thing
cut.
with Mourinho was that Levy wanted him, that Mr. Daniel Levy, of course, Mr. Daniel Levy, wanted him when he was at Porto, and he missed out on him
Yeah,
when he went to Chelsea. And I think there was always in the back of his mind, what if I could get him at Tottenham? What could we do? And then the
yeah,
opportunity came up, and so he took it. But personally, I felt that Mauricio Pochettino had earned the right to leave on his own terms or to be backed again and go through another squad building process.
yeah,
Because when he came into the club, he immediately got rid of players like Adebayor and Kabul and players who we didn't think were up to the task or ready to buy in. And clearly, at the end of his time, there were certain players, very good players, but still certain players who no longer were bought into that way of thinking and wanting to work with him. I
yeah,
mean, one notable player signed a contract pretty much the day that Mourinho joined the club. So, um, clearly staying at Tottenham wasn't the issue. It was just the manager. And if it
yeah,
had been me with my millions of pounds on the line, obviously I don't have millions of pounds and I never will. But if it had been me with that kind of money on the line, I think I would have been saying, right, Mauricio, do what you want, do what you will. We will back you. You are in charge and you are the one who's going to be determining the future of this club.
yeah.
But obviously they didn't want to do that, so they got rid of him, and then they made a decision which I did not think worked. I just, I
No, he
mean,
didn't at all.
we recorded a pod not straight after, very soon after he came in, and I was spitting feathers, and just going, Mourinho is not the guy. And I thought Nagelsmann was the guy we should have pushed the boat out for at the
Yeah,
time. But
yeah.
yeah, can't get what you want, and now he's
No,
Germany manager. So
yeah. I mean, he might be
yeah,
gettable next summer after the World Cup, depending on how they do, I
so
suppose.
might
But
Mauricio. So who
yeah,
knows?
I would be loath to go back to Pochettino because I don't think it's ever good going back in football.
Doesn't work very often, does it?
No, I think you don't want him to
Moyes
come
at
back.
Everton's about one of the rare ones
Yeah,
that seems to have
but
worked.
even that, I mean, what's Everton's ambition? It was to stay in the Premier League, and that's
Yeah.
it. Now they're in a new stadium? Is he going to be able to push on with them and get them up above halfway and pushing towards European places? Because that's ultimately what their aim has to be. Same as virtually every team in the league, apart from about three or
Mm.
four. Um, Also, I don't want with Pochettino, I don't want his memory to be sullied by him coming back and
Yeah, there is that.
not succeeding, and you're thinking, oh, I want this bloke out now because it's not working again. I'd rather, the time he had with us was brilliant. And I certainly agree. From what I understand, there were players he wanted sold, the club wouldn't sell. And that's a mistake. If the manager is telling you, I think out of Real was one of them. Now Real was absolutely brilliant player, but
That's the guy who signed the contract. Yeah.
yeah. So Pochettino didn't want him. He should have been sold. I understand we turned down £40 million for Eric Dyer at one stage, and also turned down a big offer for Lucas after the Ajax game. Lucas
I'd have
Moura.
taken that.
Yeah, yeah. You can.
Absolutely taken
I
that.
mean, what a memory he's given us with that game. But his career at Spurs, he was so hit and miss. He had one good game in 10. Excuse me. He had one good game in 10. And if you're getting a good offer for a player like that, you take it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And you try to find someone who maybe doesn't have a brilliant game once in every 10 games, but has a steady game 5 games out of 6, something like that. That's the players I want. Obviously, you want a player that will get you off your seat every now and again, but they should be able to do it more. They should be able to do it consistently. I think that's often been a problem with a lot of our players. They can do it on occasion, but it's the consistency that needs to be addressed with over the years, a lot of our players. And when we did have it in 16, 17, and we, 86 points would have won the league this season. We was unlucky that year. Chelsea team managed by Conte with no European football. If they'd had European football, we would have won it. We were the best team in the country that year. I know we didn't win the league that season, but we were the best team. We scored the most goals, conceded the least goals. We were the best team. And it's just unfortunate that Chelsea had the right manager for a season when they got no European football.
Yeah. Yes. I've been having this conversation with Napoli fans this week. Like, they're going on about how Conte's great. And I was like, just wait till next season when he's got to concentrate on European football as well. He's not quite so good when he's got to concentrate on 2 different competitions.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. But Lucas, I thought Lucas was a good player, as he said, won in very few games. He was slightly less consistent than James Maddison, but for the same reason, if somebody came to me with a good offer for James Maddison now, I'd be selling him.
Yeah, I think as well, his
You have
injury
to be
record.
very careful who you buy in. But yeah.
Let's say Maddison's injury record as well. You look at that and you think, right, he's only playing for us. Same with Richarlison. I love Richarlison. He gives everything on the pitch. But he misses 20 games a season every season. And you need someone, you need your squad to not have players like that. The only one who I would make an exception for, because I think he's a generational talent, is Mickey van der Ven. I think I'm hoping that all the stuff they've done with his gait and that is going to help with his hamstrings, and he's not going to have these hamstring injuries anymore. But he's such a that pace is ridiculous. You can't, obviously you can buy it. You know what I mean? You can't. There are very
few. You spend a lot of money to get it.
There are very few central defenders in the world who've got that pace, and he's only 24. He's going to get. I can see him being the best centre back in the world, because I think he's got everything. He needs to improve his heading a little bit, but apart from that, for a lad who's 6'4", I don't think he's the best in the air. But he I would make an exception for him and his injury problems. But Richarlison, he's great. His character's fantastic. But he doesn't score enough goals to justify having a player there who misses half the games in the season, unfortunately. So if we could get...
He's quite influential, though. When he starts a game, we generally tend to do very well.
Yeah, no, like I say, I think he's a fantastic footballer. He's the heartbeat of the team at times, but it's the fact he's not there, unfortunately.
I mean, he only started 11 games last season.
Yeah, I think 500 minutes or something over the whole season he played.
Yeah, something like that.
It's you're carrying a player, and you can't be carrying players in his squad. It's like the people who say Ben Davies should be offered a new contract. You'd be carrying him for non-football reasons for me. or they should be taking up the option on his contract. Um, he's great around the club, and he's never once moaned about not being the first choice. And
Yeah.
he's by all accounts a lovely fella, and I'd be more than happy when his playing days are over for him to come back and do coaching with us, and maybe who knows in the long run eventually become the Spurs manager if that's the route he takes and he's good at it. Fantastic, but we need better now,
He's
unfortunately.
obviously very keen on coaching because he's done all his coaching badly,
Yeah,
so he's ready to get into that world.
yeah,
It's just, I mean, we have an option for him to stay for another year at the club. We could activate that, and he could be signed up for another year straight away. But if we weren't going to do it, why didn't we release him like we did Forster and
yeah.
Alfie?
So I
Players
don't
like that.
understand that. I don't understand that unless they're trying
So
to
part of
persuade,
me, yeah, part of
persuade
me
him
thinks
to
is,
stay.
yeah, but different role.
Yeah,
I think with Ryan Mason likely to go to West Brom now, which looks like it's happening, 'cause he's been offered a 3-year contract according to the BBC. If he goes, then we have a spot for somebody to evolve within the club, somebody from within the club to push on and make that next step up. And
yeah.
I think Ange would like that to be Ben Davis. So I wouldn't be against it if he decided to stay on
The
and
only
be a
thing I'd
coach.
wonder about that is he's 32. He's only just turned 32, so he might
Mm,
think, right, well, I've got another 3 or 4 good years left of me as a player, and then once that's done, I'll do the coaching full time. Because if I presume if you're a football, you love playing football, you want to play football, and you unless you have to jack it in at 32 or even younger,
mm.
like Ryan Mason had to. Why would you? I've seen he's been quite heavily linked with Wrexham, Ben Davis. Be a great signing for them. All that experience he's got. Perfect. I mean, I don't particularly like Wrexham. I think they're a bit of a false position. Interested to see what they can do in the Championship when they can't just financially bully everyone like they have done in all their other divisions they've come through. Um, but we'll see. But he'd be, if he's happy to drop to the Championship, it'd be a really good signing for him. He'll play every week. Um, so yeah. So I'm just wondering if the club maybe are trying to persuade him to sign for another year, and he's umming and ahhing because he's thinking about he wants to carry on playing.
Yeah, West Brom wouldn't be a bad call for him,
No,
to be fair.
no,
Go and be with Ryan and work together, and he could like almost back him up as a coach as well. He could have a playing coaching role, but there is a theory that players only have a certain amount of games in their legs,
yeah,
and he's been playing like men's professional football since he was like 17, 18 years old. 14 years of that. He's definitely lost a yard or two of pace in the
yeah,
last couple of years. And I mean, some of our last games this season in the league, he was clearly being targeted.
yeah.
Like the Brighton game, he was clearly being targeted. So it's like, where do you work this? How do you work this? So
Maybe we're going to keep him until after we've played the Super Cup and let Doué and Dembele and Double K have a little run at him so he can play in
oh
it.
no, don't do that to him. That's not the way we want him to go out. That wouldn't be fair. That's not kind. Hey, what are you doing?
No, I think he's going to move on because I think he would have signed the contract. I think he
Yeah, I
would have
agree.
taken up the extension and wish him nothing but the best. Nothing but the best.
It's who comes in because we don't have a lot of spaces, certainly for the European. I mean, the Premier League, we've got loads of space. We can bring in players, that's not a problem. But
Yeah,
players who can fit in for the Champions League stuff, it's really difficult. I mean, Danso can play left. Vuskovic played left most of his season. But I mean, do you want to play an 18-year-old as your
yeah. It's
backup
a
to someone
it's a
who has
big
been?
ask.
It's a big ask. And I like Danso, but I think he's been better on the right than the left when he has played.
Yeah, I think he's Romero's understudy. I think he understands that. I think he's happy
Mm,
with that. Mark Gay, maybe he plays left hand side.
he does. A
Obviously,
lot
we
of
went
money.
in went in for him in January. But it's a lot of money to come in and
Yeah.
basically be rotation, not backup. Be a rotation
I think
option.
Tamori's probably more likely
Yeah,
from AC Milan because we went in for him in January as well.
yeah,
So yeah, so they say. I mean, I don't know. I am not ITK. I am not climbing it in anyway. I'm just going on reports that were
Yeah,
made,
it's the same
everybody.
as just what
Yeah,
it's just what you hear, isn't it?
exactly.
But yeah, but again, I mean, I I know I know he got relegated, but the lad at Southampton. Now I'm not sure which side he plays. Is it Harwood Bellis, the central defender
Oh yeah.
that they bought from Man City? Now he either was or is the England under 21 captain. I don't think you can put much of Southampton's issues down to him specifically, but he might be someone to have a look at for not a ridiculous amount of money because he's English. Obviously, he's not going to be club trained, but no one we're going to sign is going to be club trained. But he's English, so he's going to tick that box for Europe, if nothing else.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone who could come in as club trained centre backs. Um, Marcus Edwards, no. Massimo
Cameron
Luongo, no.
Cam,
Dennis
Cam
Sirkin,
Carter,
no. Cameron
Cameron
Carter
Carter
Vickers. There
Vickers.
we go. The CCV. Bring the fridge
Yeah,
back. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Oh, yeah, maybe. He's a bit short. So Ange
yeah,
likes him. Ange does like him.
yeah. I was quite surprised actually when because we were looking for a goal scoring midfielder last summer. Obviously, a
Yeah,
lot of links with Conor Gallagher, so we were looking for that box crasher
yeah.
midfielder. So I was surprised they never went for Matt O'Reilly because obviously as Ange had him at Celtic, he scored goals for fun under
Hmm.
Ange. So I was quite surprised that we never looked at him as a option. I know he plays for Denmark, but I think he's actually English, so he'd
I think he
count
was
as
born in
a
Stoke.
yeah, so he'd count as a
Yeah.
sort of as a English trained player for the European game. So I was quite surprised that we never went for him. But then I know he got a nasty injury in his first game for Brighton, and I don't think he's been brilliant. I know he scored against us the other day, but
Mm.
that was a penalty, wasn't it? But I don't think he's been, tearing up trees for Brighton since he's returned from his injury. But as a player, I was surprised we didn't go for. I'm not saying we should have done. I'm just surprised because as Ange knows him well that
Yeah.
we didn't have a look, or maybe we did and thought, no, he's not for us.
I just wonder whether there's some agreement in place where we don't go for Celtic players.
Could be, could be.
Because was it Dyson Maeda is a
Yeah,
player that everybody says, oh, he's a perfect Ange player, but we don't ever seem to get linked to him. However many
no.
times people say he's the perfect Ange player. But who knows? There's going to be so many twists and turns this transfer
Oh
window.
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
we've already been linked with about 30 players, and I'm sure we'll be linked with about another 30 by the end of the week. So
Yeah.
what I quite like about what Langer does is we don't actually know until the basically the deal's done. I mean, Wilson Odobert, that came right out of the blue. First I saw of that, it was announced on the BBC sport page. Not a link or anything with him at all.
Yeah.
And then the deal was done. He was signed. So
Same here.
I like that.
I found out about it off the BBC. I was having quite a busy day that day. I'm not going to say what I was doing, but it's quite a busy day. When I look back, the first links, the first rumors came out about an hour before that. That's all there
Yeah,
was, just an hour of lead time. And somebody could have seen him going in for his medical at that point.
yeah, yeah,
But then like Danso as well.
yeah.
Kinski wasn't talked about, but you
No,
can go back further. Berraval, when we signed Berraval, like I was doing a transfer special as the transfer window was closing, and something came up on the BBC. Tottenham interested in Lucas Berraval, and I was like, I have no idea who this Lucas Berraval is, but apparently Barcelona want him. He might be quite good. But it was so rough and random. I was like, this probably isn't going to happen. And then he signed for us. I'm like, okay, no idea who he is, what he's done.
he's
So
such an exciting player for me. Very
he's
well. I
brilliant.
think he's got everything you need to be a top class central midfield player. I think he'll add some more goals to his game next season. And
Mm.
as he matures, I just think he really is top class. Wouldn't have been my player of the season. Young player, definitely not my player of the season. I think that was. I think.
Who was yours?
I think it's Pedro Porro, just
Oh, go
because
on. Me too.
he was
Eric's
just.
as well. Eric Torsvet as well said the same thing.
Yeah, he was just
Yeah.
super consistent throughout the whole season. He was the only one that was never injured. Um, Sometimes he was playing when he clearly shouldn't have been because he was knackered.
Knackered. Yeah.
Um, but just so consistent throughout the season. Even in that game against Frankfurt when Etikite scored and he
Hmm.
showed him showed him the wrong way. He didn't do that the rest of the game. He didn't get a sniff after that for the rest of the game, or in the return leg either. So yeah, just my player of the season, definitely, just for the
Yeah, same here.
consistency. I think other players have had better spells, but not over the whole season.
So for me, Pedro Porro would be my player of the season. Lucas Percival would be my young player of the season. Um, Early on in the season, I was talking up Archie Gray as young player of the season, but then
Yeah,
Lucas just took this massive step.
yeah,
I think like the last bad game I can remember him having was Galatasaray.
yeah,
He was he was just off the pace at the time. But at that point, he seemed to get it. After that game, he seemed to get it. Even during that game, almost because he made a bad start.
yeah,
It wasn't great. But then towards the end of the game, he seemed to it just seemed to click for him. But after that, he was much better.
yeah.
And I
He's
thought
he's he's an
he's got it.
integral
This
part
kid.
of the midfield now. I mean, I
Yeah,
think he's the first name in the midfield.
which is
You,
nuts.
you,
He's
you
19.
yeah, you play Bergvall, and then you pick your rest of your midfielders
Yeah.
around him. For me, so yeah,
And I
so
think
yeah,
Archie Gray can get to that level as well. I mean, Archie Gray, I think, was superb as a stand-in centre back, and I
yeah,
think it's just it took him a little bit of time to get used to the centre back role, like the mentality switch, and then he was suddenly pushed into midfield. And again, it was like there's that mentality switch, and
yeah,
I don't think it's fully there. It's going to take him a minute or two to get into the habit of being a midfielder and out of doing the defensive things because you could see he was just dropping off too much, which
yeah,
definitely hurt us against Liverpool.
yeah,
But he's such a good player. He's got skills. He's got the composure. And clearly, having played in the Championship, he can cope with the hustle and bustle. So I've got high hopes for him as well. I just think we've signed some very good young players for the future.
yeah. The young players are really exciting. I think
Yeah,
I would take up if we can negotiate a decent deal. I would take up bring Tell back permanently as
yeah,
well. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do maybe another loan with an obligation at the end of it, rather than signing permanently now. But if we can do a deal, I think there is Sonny's long term replacement, because he's got the skills and the attributes, and he'll only get better for me. So a lot of the you forget about Yang Min Hyuk as well. What an exciting talent he is,
Mikey.
and
Let's not forget Mikey
and
Moore.
Mikey Moore, yeah. And also you got Williams Barnett coming through, at 16,
Oh yeah,
and he looks so exciting. And there's so much young talent coming there. I certainly agree with Ange that signings we make this summer need to have some experience to them. I think you can't just keep bringing teenagers in, because you need a blend. And I think that's why I'd like someone like Eze, because he's 27, 26, 27. He's an
yeah.
experienced Premier League player, got what we need. If we could, I think he's going to Napoli from what I've heard, but someone like Jonathan David on a free would be a fantastic signing. Um, but then is he going to come in and play a rotation role? Is he going to want to go in and be the main man? But there are other players out there.
I think Jonathan David is the same as the Liam Delap situation. He wants to be the number one striker at a club.
Yeah, yeah.
He doesn't want to come in and play second fiddle with a World Cup year coming up.
No, no, and
So,
I fully understand that as well. Um,
yeah.
I mean, Liam Delap was surplus to requirements at City, wasn't he? So
Mm.
I understand him wanting to go and be the man, especially for a team like Chelsea as well, because whether he's actually good enough for a team like Chelsea remains to be seen. But if
I've
he's
said
going to
it
go
many
in and
times before. Chelsea is the place where strikers go to die
yeah,
because so many strikers have gone there and failed since Drogba. I think is about the last one he did well.
Diego Costa had a really good season there, one season, and then
One
he fell
season.
out. We fell out with Conte. All went wrong, and then since him,
Amazing that
they
you
haven't.
could fall out with someone as affable and easygoing
Oh no!
as
Who,
as Conte.
who would believe it? Who would
Who would
believe
have
it?
thought?
Sure, he's the nicest man in the world.
Yes.
I
Oh dear
will
me.
say though, for Conte, the fates really did conspire against him while he was there. He lost Viali, didn't he? He lost the
Yeah.
fitness coach. I mean, that's going to take its toll on anyone. Um, especially a volatile character like him. But is no need for him to throw the players under the bus, though, which is what he did. Which I'll give Poch his due. He takes all the flack. Postecoglou, sorry, is due. He takes all the flack. He says any problems, then it's
Hmm.
my fault, my mistakes, never the players, and that's I see why the players love him. I mean, I'd love a boss like that.
Yeah, wouldn't we all?
And like I
But
said
we'll
earlier,
see. We'll see what
yeah,
happens in
yeah.
terms with Big Ange. As I said, I
Well,
hope he sticks around. I hope he's still with us at the start of
I
the
think
season.
we'll find out this week one way or another. I think because
Oh,
you can't
could be
hold
any
on
time.
to him. You can't hold on to yeah. If they're going to replace him, they got to replace him as soon as possible to stop all the
Yeah.
speculation, all the talk, and just do it as well. Well, there's no fans around in the ground to shout, sing, leave it out.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of people singing Levy out if he did decide to get rid of him.
Yeah,
I think it'd be really difficult to hook a manager after what he's just achieved.
yeah,
I mean, I suspect, clearly only suspect, that Ange was told your task for the season is to get us in the Champions League.
yeah,
And he's managed that. He may not have done it
yeah,
the way we expected it to, but he's managed that.
yeah,
But as you said, 22 losses in a season is hard. But again, so many of those games were not played with our first choice defense. I mean, I'm
no,
looking at the stats now. We played 17 games with Guillermo Vicario, Christian Romero, and Mickey van der Ven starting the game. And out of those 17 games, we won 10, drew 2, and lost 5.
yeah,
And one of the losses was where they went off injured. So,
yeah, the Chelsea game, yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
yeah,
yeah, we were
well,
good
so,
up
so
until Aston Villa.
I mean, but that was another thing though. I did have a look at the stats. I think the first 11 games we won six, lost five, or first 12 games, won six, lost five.
Mm,
So whilst before the injuries hit, again, it's the inconsistencies. Now, if you can get rid of those inconsistencies, and so you're winning eight of those games, and you're only losing
yeah.
two, and draw the rest, that's fine. I'm not expecting us to be winning the league or anything like that, or even
Hmm.
necessarily finishing top four. But I do expect a team like Spurs with the squad of players we've got to be top six, top six, pushing towards those top four places because was it 66 points got you in the Champions League this year? That's not a lot of points. That's not. I don't think that's an awful lot of
It's not
points
unattainable.
to ask. It's 22 wins out of
Mm,
38, so it's doable, isn't it? For a squad like ours, even with the injury. No, I'm not saying with the injuries we should have got to 66 points, but I think a top half finish should have been roughly where we were at. But it is what it is. I'd never swap that night in, that winning Bilbao for anything. So if Ange stays, I'll happily suck him up. I'll support him. I hope that I'm
yeah.
proved wrong, and I hope we're really good next season. That's all I want. All I want to see
To be
is
honest,
Spurs to do well.
we're Spurs fans. We've lived through some pretty bad appointments. I
Oh yeah,
mean,
I had my season ticket in the '90s. I saw some
George Graham for
dreadful old
crying out loud.
rubbish. Yeah, but Christian Gross, George Graham,
Christian Crush. Oh,
Even Ozardelis, bless him, was so out of his depth. It was
oh
unreal.
yeah. So if we can survive them, we can
Yeah.
survive.
Oh, for
We can
sure.
survive whoever comes in. I survived Conte. Conte was difficult for me. Mourinho was extremely difficult. George Graham was tough. If I
Yeah.
can live through them, then I can put up with a Thomas Frank, although he wouldn't be my first choice.
Okay.
Okay,
Who?
right. Moving off on a tangent then.
Yep.
The way I said you're a fan of film and fiction
I
because
am
you
indeed.
are, yes. So tell us about your favorite film right now.
Ooh, so I'll tell you the best film I've seen at the cinema this year so far. I
Yeah,
think I've seen about 10 films at the cinema. Sinners is the best film I've seen at the cinema this year. I really, really enjoyed that. Really clever
yeah. I
take
have
on
heard
it.
it's magnificent.
Yeah, make brilliant soundtrack, fantastic visuals, great story. Um,
Yeah.
it's a, I don't think it's a spoiler to say it's a vampire film.
It's not at all, no.
Um, so, a interesting take on a vampire film, not one I've seen before.
Yeah.
So I really
I
enjoyed
don't
that.
I, I don't think it's a vampire film, but I think it has vampires in it,
Yeah,
is
it's
the
not.
way, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
about vampires. They're sort of the MacGuffin that pushes the
Exactly.
story
Yeah.
along. But it's really, really well done. I think.
This is how I know you're a big fan because you just used the word MacGuffin correctly. So, all right, and you're a gamer as well, aren't you?
I am a gamer. Yeah, do
Yeah.
like
What
my
are you
video
playing?
games. So at the moment, I'm giving Sekiro Shadows Die Twice another go because I do like my From Software games, even though they're bloody hard and I'm too old and
Yeah.
slow with my reflexes. But I've completed Elden Ring and Dark Souls 1 and 3
Ooh,
and
Dark
Demon
Souls.
Souls. Yeah.
Serious gamer.
Yeah. Red Dead Redemption, brilliant game.
Yeah.
I like games that are long that I can really get my teeth stuck into. So I've got a few platinum trophies I play on the PlayStation. Most of my platinums takes me well over 100 hours to get them.
Yeah.
I've said before, if I put as much dedication into other aspects of my life as I did play video games, I'd be a millionaire or something like that by now because I will happily fight a boss for hours until I get it done. But anything else, if I can't do it within 10 minutes, no, I'm not doing that.
All right. Okay. Last thing, where can people find you if they want to chat to you?
So yeah, just find me on Bluesky at NotSoSkinnyPete, named after Skinny Pete from Breaking Bad, and obviously I'm not skinny, so I am not so skinny Pete.
Join the
Uh,
club.
so yeah, just come and talk to me, say hi. I don't bite. I think I'm reasonably nice, although there was quite a prominent Spurs podcaster who thinks I'm not, and there's said I was very unpleasant once, but that's is what it is. Um,
That's not me because nobody could
no,
say I
no,
was
no.
prominent. And you and I get
Um,
on just fine. So
Well, let's just say he was a member of the Fighting Cock a long time ago, and now he's had his
yeah,
own podcast for a good few years. So, and that's fine. You know,
I think I know exactly who you're talking about,
yeah, not
but
everyone has
yeah.
to like me. That's I still listen to his podcast because I find him quite entertaining. So, you know,
So
I
there you
obviously
go.
just
Right.
wound up the wrong way one day. That was it.
Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah,
I think I know who you're talking about. I've talked to him quite a few times. He's an all right guy. Anyway,
yeah, I'm sure he's.
all right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Not So Skinny Pete. I
Mhm.
look forward to talking to you and not butting heads, but having differing opinions again in the
Yeah,
future. And we'll continue to do that and be friendly and chatty as ever. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this Just the Tip interview. And we'll be back with more in the future. Until
lovely.
next
Thank you
time,
very
thank you,
much.
everybody.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
come on, you Spurs.
I want you, Spurs.